Welcome, Night Owls, to the Book Club After Dark podcast, an inviting moonlit podcast. I'm your host, Danny.
And I'm Michelle. We review fantasy, romantasy, dark romance, and thriller novels.
All things enchanting, intriguing, suspenseful, and maybe a little spicy.
Each episode features intimate discussions on captivating stories, fan theories, and more. And this is your content warning. This podcast contains mature themes and discussions that may not be suitable for all audiences. Episodes include explicit language and descriptions of mature romance, as well as depictions of violence and other intense subject matter. This podcast is rated R for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
And going forward from here, we are finally covering A Court of Thorns and Roses. And actually, there could be like some spoilers for the whole series. I really don't think we're going to do that. I feel like it's just going to naturally flow on book one because I'm still in the middle of my reread, to be honest. And a lot of it's kind of fuzzy. I know the big highlights, but like I don't remember all the details. So I'm excited to talk about that. But consider this your spoiler warning for A Court of Thorns and Roses by no one other than the Queen of Romantasy, Sarah J Maas. So There we go.
Let's get cozy because the best stories are told after dark.
All right. Drink of the episode. I felt an immense amount of pressure for this book to have a drink of the episode. But I actually went back and thought about all the drinks we've done, and we've actually never done just like a traditional strawberry daiquiri. And the way I felt like Feyre gets this, she's finally out of her world. She gets immersed into the spring court. And the way I felt like strawberries and like the Tamlin vibe and like the whole book cover color made sense to me to do like a traditional frozen strawberry daiquiri. It's like this forbidden fruit, this whole idea. We've got the sword stabbing through the strawberry. We have the whole deal here is just some symbolism for the book, but also I just thought we needed to pick a color that was like close to our book cover. And I think both books, whether you have the paperback or the hardcover, are like the first book is really like a red pink color, not pink, but like closer to red. And so there we go. It's called the Spring Court. And that is our drink of the episode as we kick off A Court of Thorns and Roses. So here we go.
I love that you chose a strawberry daiquiri because, I mean, strawberries, that's like an ideal spring fruit, right? And nothing just says, I know Feyre drinks a lot of fairy wine, or at least, consumes some fairy wine, at least in this book. So that would have been the easy route, but I love how you embodied the spring court because this is where we spend the majority of our time in this book specifically. So that and Under the Mountain. But
and there are a couple ways you could make a strawberry daiquiri. It's really kind of up to you. The traditional way, of course, is going to be with white rum, simple syrup, lime, ice, and fresh frozen strawberries, right? That would be your traditional one. This one is actually a wine-based frozen daiquiri that you can buy pre-made. It's a pre-made one. So like when I make it for the show, I'm going to make like the traditional one. But I really wanted to try the wine one. And in the vein of fairy wine, I was like, why not?
Of course.
So it's actually a strawberry daiquiri frozen wine cocktail. So you're not wrong. So when I was thinking about the book and I was thinking about, Feyre gets herself a little bit of trouble here with the fairy wine. And also she can't really hold her fairy wine very well.
No.
But also just in general. I was thinking about that, right? And I also think of strawberries as a very like a wealthy food for Feyre. And something that she didn't have access to at all. In her life. And so this luxury of having fairy wine and all of that kind of all folds together. So when I make the drink of the episode for the show, you'll see the true frozen one. But I really have never tried. I got this from Target, actually. This is like the frozen packaged ones, you could just throw them in the freezer for summer and you just pour it in. So that's what I did for this one. And it's actually really good. And it tastes very, very close to like a traditional strawberry daiquiri. So we're gonna make both. And so there you go. So it was like $2.88 or something. It was so inexpensive.
There we go.
And it tastes so good. I was like, yes, we're doing it. So the Spring Court, here we go. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Tonight, of course, as I said, we're diving into A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. So whether you're reading along with us or you're just here for the book talk, we are always glad that you're here.
Right. And I'm so excited to discuss this series with you just because this series was so monumental in our reading journey together. I mean, you're the one that showed me this series, and I was very hesitant at first because, that was what, 3 years ago at this point, maybe closer to 4.
I'd say.
And you were like, you should read this. It's great. And I heard all the hype. I was like, what are fairies? So this was like the first
you're
step
like
into...
very skeptical.
Yeah, I was very
rightfully
skeptical.
so. Yeah.
Well, we had read,
so.
You had recommended, or we read in our book club, Serpents in the Wings of Night. So that wasn't fairies. That was romantasy, but it wasn't fairies. So I'm like, what are fairies?
Vampires.
I'm thinking like Disney fairies. But no, there are wings, but different types of wings here. So I'm just really excited to talk about this with you because we haven't actually really discussed the series in like an in-depth level before. So yeah.
Yeah. Agree.
So this episode, like our review episodes are going to go, we're going to do star ratings, spice ratings, discussion questions, and then we're going to go down the rabbit hole and round out with our mystery Q&A. So let's get on with our star ratings. And of course, you can look at our socials for the star ratings guide that we have. So for this book, because we're going to do individual books, not the series as a whole, what stars would you give?
It's really tough, right? So this is what I would say is the gateway drug book, right?
Oh,
because for me, this book has really obvious elements to Beauty and the Beast right up front. There's a lot of very similar nods to that. I remember the first time I read this, I think I actually told you that it was like a cross between Beauty and the Beast and like the Hunger Games because she is an archer. So it's like, it's kind of like that, right? So she's like starving, she's going to die, but also it's Beauty and the Beast, sort of, right? And so like, there's a part of me that wants to rate it 4 stars only because of the whole series. But since we're rating individual books, I do think I have to give it 5 because it kind of hits all the points. You have an intricate plot, you have an immersive setting, you have complex characters, emotional connection, you're hooked from the start, you can't put it down, and it's absolutely life-changing. This series has been one that I immediately recommended many times, and there's a reason that it's monumentally successful. And it's because it actually gave me, I think I texted you that I was like very nostalgic reading it again because I remembered why I loved SJM's writing, and I haven't read Crescent City or any of those, and I haven't reread anything in a number of years. So I've had several DNFs this year. So for me, going back to something that was a comfort read, but also I knew what I was getting myself back into, and just rereading the story. It's interesting because it's not my favorite of the series, like at all, but it's the first. So it's like a 5. Like, it's just like, I have to, like, that's where I'm at.
Okay. I would agree. It's not...
surprised by that. I am surprised by that. Okay.
Right. It does hit all the points, right? It doesn't have my favorite characters ever written. It doesn't have a lot of the favorite things that we've grown to love. But if we're looking at the book objectively, and even as like a reread, and you mentioned like the nostalgia of it, and I thought going in, because last year we did, like, you did a reread of like Twilight, and we did a couple of like rereads, and we were like, never again. We had this conversation of like, we're never rereading anything again. And here it was
just leave
a
it
fun journey. It was a fun journey because there's so much to these books. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that detail. Oh, I forgot. Like, it was just like jogging my memory, and it was just fun. I did an immersive read with the audiobooks, but not like the standard audiobooks. I did the dramatized audiobooks, which I feel like enhanced it. Just because, like, there's background music, there's sounds, like, it creates more of an immersive read. I feel like that just elevated it a bit more for me. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna give star rating a 5. Just because it hits all the points. It does. It hits all the points, even though it's not my favorite. It's my favorite in the sense that it brought me into the series, but after doing a reread, because I finished all of the books by now at this point of the reread. It's not my favorite in the series, but it got me into this. You know, it was the drug that I needed to get into it. So let's get into spice ratings. What are we thinking with spice?
You go first. I think it's like 2.5.
Yeah.
Ish.
And
I don't even know.
There's like one scene. There's like one scene and some tension. But
I feel like it's kind of, it's difficult because I don't know that in some ways we need the spice because it reminds us that Tamlin's not the one. But I don't.
It was good, not great, you know? It was like one of those, we
didn't.
This is good. It's better than the poor farm boy, you know? Like in the shed.
Literally. That was like off page. She was just like, oh yeah, I'm not a virgin.
Yeah, that
was
a thing.
Was all that was trying to say. But there's definitely nothing taboo other than the fact that he obviously
I would say this is a
shape shifts, but he's solidly human. Fairy. Anyway,
male.
There's nothing taboo. Yeah. I would say it's like the only reason I'm saying the 2.5 is just because it's tough because it drives plot to a certain point. So it's kind of relevant. Right.
I think I think the book would have been fine without it, honestly.
Correct.
Like, I don't think
it could have been
necessary.
completely closed door.
Yeah,
it could have been completely closed door, suggested. Yeah. And I think it would have. But I think the only reason why it helps that it's not is because we really need to be with Feyre on the journey here. And I think being with her in the intimate moments, especially as the series continues and gets more graphic, it makes sense that we would need to understand the intimacy between the two characters, between Tamlin and Lucien. We need to understand that. Otherwise, I don't think it hits as hard when the transition hits. Because now, you know what I mean? So like it's not as relevant in this specific book, but I think the need for it is relevant in this series as a whole.
Right. I agree. Because in the next book, they kind of get to it pretty quickly. But this
Chapter
book
55.
Yeah. So I would agree, I guess, leaning closer to the two, just because I think it could have been written without, and you can still have her internal dialogue be like reflective. Yeah. So I think it could have been written in a way where the spice is not necessarily needed. Do we like spice? Absolutely, we like spice. But it's not necessarily.
How would you have it written off page, though? I'm curious. Like, what would you have it say? Like, we hung out. Like what?
No.
What?
No, just think about so a lot of this book is actions happen and then Feyre reflects. She reflects while she's doing something else. So at some point in time, she could have been reflecting on how he looked, how it felt, how there was a connection there, but and she's still kind of she feels like the connection's pretty real, but you can tell the difference, at least when you're doing a first read, you can tell the difference when she describes it with Tamlin versus, with Lucien, but then there's still descriptions that are it felt comfortable. And I feel like the whole safety comfortable thing is, while that's great in these books, that's a key indicator of friend zone. There's a connection, but it's not really quite there yet. And, at this point in time, Tamlin's not an absolute dick. I mean, he's kind of a dick.
Yeah.
But he's not a monster in the sense of,
not just yet.
How he becomes. So, I just think it could have been a reflective moment as she's doing other shit, as she does. So, that's just my thoughts. But, I would agree. So I think we're pretty even on both. And it's interesting too, because you and I really haven't ever discussed our ratings together about this series.
we've spent so much time elsewhere on other series because this series is so saturated. And we've even talked about that. We even like went back and forth on whether we were going to ever cover this series because of how much hype it has and how oversaturated the market is. But then when the announcement for 6 and 7 came out, I knew
We're like,
we were going to be doing summer we're going to be doing a summer reread. And like, it's just because like there's a reason why this fandom has such a following. I think it's well deserved. I really still love her writing style. Are there certain things that I notice now that are like redundant that I didn't maybe pick up on the first read? Yeah, I do.
Right.
I notice certain words that I'm like, all right, we get it, you know? And so like, or it's more often. So yeah, I would agree with you. I think we're both like kind of in the 2.5 range. It could have been a flashback or like a retelling. She's doing something else type of thing. We didn't have to like necessarily be right there with the moment. But I do think overall for the All Up series, it makes sense why we did that way.
Yeah, her books get progressively spicier as the series goes on. So I'm very excited for 6 and 7. But yeah, it's pretty mild in ACOTAR. So let's get into our discussion questions. And I think these are going to be fun because I feel like a lot of our conversation is going to be reflective on like the reread part and like really getting into these characters a second time around. So Feyre's family. We're first introduced to Feyre, obviously, in her little hovel, and the whole scene of like her hunting a wolf that she like kind of subconsciously think this is probably a fairy and like skins it alive. So I'm like, obviously she thinks like fairies are, you know, monsters at this point in time because like that's what she's been told. But the entire time she's talking about this, I'm like cringing. I'm like, this is literally a person. Not
I know. And we didn't think about, well, then she has the nightmare later, like mid-book. She has the nightmare of like skinning a person because she knows that's like what actually happened. Yeah. And she like has this vivid nightmare. And then I was like, the way I was having that nightmare at the beginning also. I was like, no. Because I was like, oh shit, he's gonna sacrifice himself. Yeah, I know. Because you don't know it the first time. The first time you're like blindsided. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into. Yeah.
No. But then we have, so she comments a lot about her family and how, you know, Nesta's a bitch. Let's just be real, you know, call it like you see it. Yeah, she is. Feyre
entitled
is
asshole.
She's very entitled. She was raised that way, and you get more of her story later on, and like how she was raised differently than Elaine and Feyre. Feyre basically is like the foundation of the family. The youngest sister, might I say. Usually that's not what happens. Youngest sisters don't usually share the burden of the family. But fathers...
I mean, Elaine's not super useful either, okay?
The entire time, I'm like, why? You grow plants. Grow a fucking vegetable. Like, why? Why are we just depending on our little sister? We're gonna maybe occasionally grow flowers. Okay. And then we get mad that Feyre buys paints. I'm like, listen.
Meanwhile, she comes home with the deer. And this is something I like glazed over the first time because I was so hyper focused on the kill and like what the fuck was going on. And then when you listen to the immersive audio, like you really like get that feel for this family because you have like background sibling yelling. You have like extra shit that you don't get in like the book when you're reading it. I mean, it's written there that they're like still arguing, but you don't like hear it. You know what I'm saying? Like you hear the distant like bickering in the background. And so the way I was just like, yeah, so, you know, you just got back, Feyre, from a literal long hunt where you already like skinned a fucking wolf and now you're carrying a deer on your back and you're starving. But yeah, like when are you gonna get this thing cut up because like the rest of us want to eat? I was just like, we can't clear a table. Like we can't like help lift it. We can't.
Nesta didn't even chop the wood. She didn't chop the wood like she's supposed to.
Nothing.
Like, you're better at that. I was just
literally. I was
her
like,
family is aggravating.
So bad.
It's honest. And the father, like, I understand trauma. I understand. You know, he was the prince of merchants. and then he bet on a bad run, and then their lives got kind of, turned upside down. And they're in the hovel now. I understand like depression and whatnot. I was like, those are your daughters. Step up. Oh, they were frustrating the entire time.
Yeah,
so
it was bad.
It was so bad. So what about Feyre as a protagonist?
Line. I think it helped her. Well, two things helped her stay with Tamlin. And one is how shitty all of that was, even if she subconsciously didn't really verbalize that. You have to know that it's like an undercurrent to like the whole storyline. And then the other piece of it is fairies can't lie. So she finds out when she gets over the wall and like goes on this journey that they're at least going to be fine now because he can't lie. So like now they're like better off because of this. But I was reminded again.
Yeah.
She can't read. Her older sister couldn't be bothered with teaching her sister to fucking read. I mean,
that whole aspect. We'll get into the trials because poor fucking Lucien. I
mean, the man's trying everything. And Rhysand. I mean, fucking everything. I mean, it's like, girl. Yeah.
The trials the second time around, I was like dying the whole time.
I know.
Okay,
Jesus.
but we'll get to that. Let's not jump ahead. Okay, so Feyre as a
wait, I have to ask you this question. So like you and I are very vocally Team Nesta and have been. We're always like Team Nesta. And now I wonder in a reread, which I've admittedly never done before. This is the first. I read Silver Flames. I read all of them in order. I read Silver Flames. Silver Flames was my favorite. Nesta girly, loved her shift and all that. In book 1, though, she's flat out bitch. There's just no getting around it.
Yeah, she's awful. And I think the reason why, the reason why she's both of our favorites is we see a very dramatic character arc because she goes from like being a bitch to being helpful to being
there's
literal
a
like piece. Demon. Like she's awful. Like you're the bitch before. Like she gets worse, and then you see like the other character arc. So she like goes through a couple of character arcs. But by seeing that transformation and through multiple books, I feel like you're along for her journey for longer than Feyre. Because Feyre, like, yes, we see her journey, but her character development, it's like as soon as she becomes Fae, she like just gets it. She like kind of after she, we're getting into book 2, but towards the end of book 2, she like owns it. And it's not that she's stagnant, but she's very much embraced her power and who she is. Her
and complexity is different. Yeah, it just isn't.
Exactly.
It's not
There's not as much.
Elaine.
Yeah. Elaine, she's just like fucking around with her flowers the entire time.
Know. Yeah, like, and then so that's where I have to wonder. Like, once we get towards like the end of Silver Flames, we'll speculate more on 6 and 7. But yeah, I would agree that the introduction of Feyre's family again was a little bit trauma-inducing for me. I remembered how much I was like, the fuck is going on
what
here?
What is this?
But yeah,
I agree. So okay, now let's just dive into Feyre. Like, how do you feel about Feyre as a protagonist, as a narrator? Her actions throughout the book. What are your thoughts and feelings?
Yeah, I mean, I think I actually empathize with her more on the second read. And I think the reason I did is because I understand her a little bit better and I'm more empathetic to her journey. And I think she understandably is very hesitant because she does have so much trauma. She is the youngest sibling. She has so much responsibility and she's literally being thrown into a world where everyone has told her entire life that these things manipulate and have killed humans for thousands of years. Like, what else are you supposed to think about that? And then she sees her dad, like, outside one day. She's like, oh my God, my dad is out there, like, at the evening dusk. And Tamlin's like, where are you going? And it's not her dad. And I mean, she sees, like, all these creatures, like, it's like, what the fuck is happening? And so, is she naive and a little bit annoying? Sure. I think a lot of people have said that about her character. I think a lot of people have not liked her for that reason. I give her more credit in the reread than I think I did the first time, because I feel like she's 19 years old. It's just, she's illiterate. I mean, there's just more to the story than the first go round. I think you kind of glaze over it the first time because all of it is new. The fairies are new. Tamlin's new. The whole reason she's there is new. Like, all of these things are new. Whereas in the second read, you know her story already and you know where she's going. And now you're like, oh, you're like looking at it through a different set of eyes going back, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That was my thoughts. What about you?
Feyre is arguably one of my least favorite FMCs I've read before. Like,
oh, for sure.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. And I understand why.
I understand. Do I like it? No. Was really annoying. And the fact that, you know, people are telling her, like, just stay put. And obviously, I understand a lot of people view that as, like, Tamlin being oppressive. And you know, this is probably going to get into our next question, which is more about Tamlin and Lucien. But, like, girl, you don't know this land. And some redhead with a magic eye told you to fish out a cereal with a chicken, and you're just like, I bet. It's like, what you're mortal. Like, what are you doing? So the entire time I'm like, you literally have a fucking rotisserie chicken and a string. Like, what are you doing? Like, what? So I just
luckily this cereal just has the tea, so like it's okay.
Right.
But
he's
also
about it.
like,
he's like, yes, I'm about it. Thank you for the chicken. But
I love
then the Naga
happened. I forgot
so
how much I loved.
So the entire time I'm like, girl, what the fuck are you doing? Just stay put. Just stay put.
Yeah, she doesn't listen. There's no
she doesn't listen. And obviously we want a strong, independent woman, blah, blah, blah. Girl, stay put.
But
sometimes just sit your ass down. Like, that's like, sometimes you need to.
I don't know though, because like, has that served her in her life? Right? Remaining stagnant has never served her. You know?
Right.
And so that's where I kind of was like, correct. Like, she has to do something. She can't, she doesn't know how to just relax is not a word in Feyre's vocabulary.
She could have just been Elaine and planted some flowers.
Correct. Like, if Elaine had gotten kidnapped, she'd have just been chilling. She'd be like, oh my God, look at all these flowers. Wow, look at all the spring flowers. Wow, I'll be in the garden forever. You told me they're fine. You can't lie. Great. I'll just be like, and there would be no plot. There'd be literally no story. That would be it. It'd be her and Tamlin, the end. Love, the end. Like, that would be it. She'd say, I love you. It would be game over. Like, there would be no book.
Yeah. No,
so Feyre has to be who she is. Otherwise, it doesn't work. But
that doesn't mean it's not annoying. Like, totally understand. She has to do what she has to do. The entire time I'm like screaming at her, like, stop. But, you know, it's fine. She did what she had to do. So now let's move on to Tamlin and Lucien. So Tamlin's probably one of the most controversial characters in the series, I would say. One of the most. Yeah. So let's talk about first impressions, Tamlin and Lucien, and strictly this novel, how that changed. Because if we could talk about the other novels, then it's going to get too big of a conversation. So let's talk about this novel specifically.
Agreed. So for this novel specifically, it reminded me of the girl who got the Tamlin tattoo before she finished the whole series. Because I was like, so for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, if you go on Instagram, you can like look this up, or if you Google it, there was a girl who got a Tamlin tattoo as like an ode to her favorite book character, but she had not actually read the whole series yet. So the first time you're reading him, well, you meet both of them, but what's really weird, what freaked me out about all of this, which is not even your real question, is that Lucien's eye in the graphic audio, you can hear it. Yeah. And the way I was like, okay, Mad Eye Moody, like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, immediately was what I thought of. And I didn't expect that because I hadn't heard the graphic audio before. So when I was listening to the graphic audio, I was like, okay, this is not what I remember about Lucien literally at all. I remember this buff dude who's like got the eye or whatever. He's got this russet other color eye, and he's like really handsome, but he just like, whatever happened to him. His dad's a fucking asshole, and he's from the Autumn Court, and like we know the whole deal. His what he believed would be his mate after marriage died. Well, she was murdered. And he flees, and now he's with Tamlin and whatever. But he wanted to kill Feyre. He like didn't believe in this whole thing at all. Because remember, they have the mask stuck, and I remember messaging you being like, "Oh yeah, forgot all about the mask. Like I forgot about that whole part of the story. Completely forgot all about it entirely." Because the story after this book moves on so much that I had like forgot that the masks were stuck to their faces. And it's such a part of the audio. It's a huge part of the story, and I had like completely forgot about it entirely. So my overall first impressions was that you can very much tell that there is significant issues between Tamlin and Lucien in dialogue that I like never the first read like cared about really.
The tension, like you can with the audio, like there's greater tension between those two. Like Lucien's an absolute dick, and then Tamlin has like literally growls all the time, and is like clenching his teeth, and like so.
There's so much
with the read,
but you know what it is because we've already read it, right? But like I didn't. The first read, I'm like, all right, clearly there's a problem here. They've got some history.
They got some issues.
Like, I don't know.
Internal issues. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But how did that change? So throughout this book, your perspective?
I don't think it changed my overall perspective, what I already had of them as characters, because, I know how it's going to go. So I don't really change that for me. But it did. The whirling of the eyeball was something that was brand spanking new.
That was the thing.
That was I know. It was the thing that like stuck out the most, that like the way I was just like, because I remember all of this, right? Like I remember the big overarching story, like the timeline Tamlin has, for the curse and the whole deal. So it's not like any of that was a mystery. That the thing that I didn't give much thought to was about Lucien's eye of all things. Yeah. What about you?
That's funny. So obviously first impressions are like, okay, she's stuck. She's stuck with these two guys, and their personalities are like toast. Like they're just weird and like crunchy around the edges, and just what are you doing? Like you have so many questions here. Obviously we know the answers, but like I'm like, oh my God, I forgot how much they're just like, their dynamic is fucking stupid and they suck together. And then as it goes through, like I remember thinking in my very first read, I was like, oh, Lucien probably is going to be more of like the romantic character, because he's like snarky, but like flirty snarky. Like there's like also like some weird tension between him and Feyre. Yeah.
Very, very subtle. Yeah.
Yes. He's like, if I dangle the moon on a string, would you give me a kiss? He's like, okay, all right. And then Tamlin just growls at her. I'm like, you just growl. And so it's very much like Beast, right? From Beauty and the Beast, because, there's that dynamic there. And Lucien is definitely like the candelabra the entire time. Yeah. What I did forget, though, is how much Lucien was a buffer, like how much of a buffer he was between Feyre and Tamlin. Like I knew, I remember like they're friends, but I forgot like the necessity of Lucien. If it was just Tamlin there, like
you'd have fucked it all up.
Yeah, it wouldn't have happened. But Lucien had to constantly like talk to Feyre, talk to Tamlin separately, and like calm them both down, because they have two strong personalities. And both are coming from a lot of trauma. And I think, I mentioned that Tamlin is a very controversial character. And I think a lot of readers forget that Tamlin comes from a shit ton of trauma as well.
Oh, yeah.
And he hasn't had friends or a court to really help him process it. So that's why he's Grumpy Beast, because he has all this want of protection, which is like an innate aspect of his character. And he projects it wrong. He doesn't do a good job of projecting it at all, which is why he becomes like this toxic person, because he doesn't know how to do that in a healthy way. And he hasn't been, there's not like spring court like therapy, And he doesn't have an inner circle. He doesn't have friends. He has Tamlin, who who needs therapy as well. So, you know, they're not doing each other any favors here. But through the reread, I mean, I feel like I was definitely more frustrated with Tamlin throughout this book, because I remember texting you after I finished ACOTAR. I'm like, I feel like I can just not read the rest of the series. And you're like, okay. And I remember being like, yeah, I'm like, we finally have a blonde. Finally have a blonde, happily ever after, the end, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I know.
And then that is like so far from the truth. So far from the truth.
Yeah.
Being like, I feel like I'm content. This is good. I don't want to read the other 4 books. And obviously I did. Because the story changes very, very much. But yeah, this time around I was a lot more frustrated with Tamlin. I understand why his character behaves the way he does. That doesn't excuse the behavior. I was definitely remember being like, come on, you're under the mountain, and the first thing, you're not going to try to get her out. You're just going to rub all of the paint all over her and kiss her. Really? We're not going to do fuck all.
Yeah.
So
literally.
Yeah. So he was a lot more frustrated.
Brings us to Lucien. Yeah, agree. And then, like, to me, him being mated to her was so much more obvious.
Yeah.
In this reread, like, very obvious versus first time. And I think it's because you know more about the magic system, you know more about all of it. And we see Lucien at the Calamai, and he, like, basically is obvious, I think, from, like, the beginning. Like, there's it doesn't make logical sense why he would be in any way interested in her, frankly.
No.
Given his choice as basically the leader of the Night Court, there is unlimited options for him. Why on earth would he be anywhere near an illiterate human on the other side of his court? Like, way the fuck where he should be. So, I mean, for that, it was like, okay. It was a lot more obvious than it was the first time.
Right.
First time, you have no idea. You know, you're so out of left field.
Right, because he's literally saving her from being, like, assaulted at this point in time. And so you're kind of focused on that.
Of him. You're not really focused on the why. You're just like, oh, right place, right time.
Right. No.
Like,
and then like at the very end of the book, the click that, and like his eyes like go wide, you're like, and you completely glaze over it. The audiobook glazes over it too. Like, it happens like super quick, and then done. At the end, it's like, oh,
line snapped.
Okay. Yeah. But we don't know what that is because we haven't like experienced like a mating bond or anything before. So
but
it was definitely a lot more obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a lot more obvious. You know, him under the mountain as a second time around, it made a lot more sense. You know, all of his actions that he was taking. And, you know, in the second book, he does explain a lot of that to her also. But just like, why is he so nice? But then again, a lot of the Fae were helping her because no one else wants to be trapped. Like, they've been under the mountain for 50 years at this point in time. Lucien's mom, you know, helped her when she had to like scrub the floors with a little toothbrush, and the mud just keeps going everywhere, and she like gives her clean water. And you know, of course, the rest of Baron's asshole sons are just complete dickwads the whole time. But you know, they all have to have like this, I want out, she's our way out, but we have to present like we hate her because Amarantha is like awful, like god awful. So let's talk about Under the Mountain, because the trials, I shouldn't have been cackling most of the time, but I was, because Feyre's inner dialogue the entire time was, and poor Lucien's life, he literally just like, as he's going through, because Lucien's like the bait, right? Through the trials, and he gets tortured every time she like fails or does something right, or it's his life on the line, and he has to depend on this illiterate human to fight to kill the Mittengard worm thing, which is essentially like the bullworm from SpongeBob. Never watched SpongeBob. And then to have she can't solve the
fucking
riddle.
read.
Well, yeah, and she can't solve the riddle, and the riddle like the entire time was like so simple.
Yeah,
like, I don't know which camp you were in. I know there were like two camps. So like, oh, riddle, fun, and then everyone was like, "It's love. What are you talking about?" Like that's the riddle. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And then when she was like,
I think a lot of people read it and were like, they're gonna tell me later. I'm not even gonna try to like solve this.
I'm like, you're not gonna try. You don't even know. And my first time reading, I was like, love seems too simple. But that was like the whole point. Like she's illiterate, so it had to be simple, and that's why everyone like was laughing at her. But and then when Lucien, I think it was the second trial where she had to pick like 3 of the 3 levers, and she's like, well, it's not one because Amarantha is by herself and she's mad and she's awful, so it's not 1. And 2 is like me and Tamlin, and we're 2 and we're in love, so it has to be 2. And the way Lucian's probably like, oh fucking hell, and
Rhys too.
Like, yeah, Rhys is like in her brain, like,
oh my god, yeah,
we're all gonna die.
Literally. Like it's all over.
Like, no, we're gonna go to 3,
and
honey.
That's where right, but that's like where she is not Katniss Everdeen at all, at all, like not even close.
No,
you're like, fuck.
Like the problem solving abilities with anything.
We got out of there on the skin of our teeth. Okay,
it was right. She literally died. What do you mean she died?
That's great. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, we didn't get out of there. Yeah, we didn't.
No, we didn't at all. So what are your thoughts on the trials as a whole?
I think again, pointing to the overarching series, book 1 of a Romantasy, trials you often see at some point in these types of books. So it doesn't surprise me that we would have trials at the end of book 1. I really enjoyed actually rereading all the trials again because I haven't reread them in so long. So it was nice because you don't really get that again in the series. The trials you go through are not as direct. They're not like very specific like that. It's like the characters have a larger enemy that they're fighting. And it's just a different type of story the rest of the series. Even for Nesta, there's battles and stuff. It's not written the same way as this. So having like distinct trials for this and like the line snapping for Rhys-Anne and all of you get to meet everybody at the end and they all kind of come together, and that was something worth seeing again. I think what it did from a overarching perspective of the whole storyline is it makes you think about what everybody's theories are for 6 and 7 again. Of where we could go and the impact of certain players that maybe we don't see in the rest of the novels. So that's a question I have for you. Knowing that we get reintroduced to everybody again, who does anybody in your mind from book 1 stick out that we are likely going to hear more about in 6 and 7? That doesn't make a
right. When I think about it, we haven't really seen all of the courts yet. Like we haven't seen all of the courts. And I forgot, we have the celestial courts. So we have the night court, the dawn court, and the day court. We go to dawn, but we haven't gone to the day court yet. Because, with the dawn court, there's a clear connection. There's a lot of theory, or there's not really theories, about Lucian's connection to there. But we haven't gone there. Obviously, we've gone to the autumn court. We've kind of been in the winter court a little bit, but not a whole lot. So I think
we have summer too.
Yeah, well, summer with Varian, and because this is all getting into the later books. I think we're gonna see more of summer court. I think we need to see day. We need to see the day court more. And we're definitely going to see the Winter Court, because at the end of the third book, there's the things that happen with the High Lord that I think are really important. So yeah, I think those three courts are gonna play a bigger role. Obviously, we're gonna see Baron's fuck ass, because Baron's Baron's awful. But yeah, but in a positive way, I think we're gonna see the other three courts. What about you?
Okay. No, I would agree. I think that it was a reminder for me, kind of being reintroduced to all those players, and remembering where we have and haven't gone. So as I just finished A Court of Thorns and Roses, so I'm still like really green in my reread. And I've honestly just taken my time on purpose and been really enjoying it. And I've been taking my time because I've also been enjoying summer, the World Cup, and all the things. And so it's just been a busy summer season, and I was finishing a different series, a dark romance series. And I read my first Rena Kent series. We talk about that at some point, but yeah. So I mean, it's just been. I knew I was going to enjoy this, and I knew I wanted to take my time with it again because, again, Sarah J Maas is very Easter eggy. She probably knew how this whole series was going to go before her completion of book one. I mean, the level of detail that she has. She released A Court of Thorns and Roses, book one, in May 5th, 2015 was when the first book came out. And so now book 6 is slated for October 27th, 2026. And book 7 is going to be January 12th, 2027. So book 1 came out 11 years ago. So this book has been out for a while, and you can tell she had already written a Throne of Glass. She was already used to formulaic, immersive writing styles. Crescent City ties into this world, which came out in between this series. So the level of detail that she's spent writing this series is intense. And I think there's a reason why so many people have found value in the deep dive coverage that other podcasters have done and all of that, because I do think she's super intentional.
I agree. And Throne of Glass also ties into this series as well. It's the whole universe, or multiverse, if you will, just because of how, if you've read Throne of Glass or Crescent City, of how, everything is set up. So yeah, I would agree that I wanted to take my time with my reread. But then I remember how addictive she was. I was just like, well, need to start the next one. And I was like, I'm just going to get through these and it'll be great. It'll still be fresh in my mind because it's been forever. So I wanted to be, okay, I'll read one and then I'll take a break and read another. But I was just like, no, I wanted to keep going. With this reread, I went through it really quickly, and I remember being stuck after A Court of Wings and Ruin, and because you have the little novella, and I was just not. I already read the 3. I was like, there's more. But this time around, I'm like, okay, we need to keep going. So I was definitely excited to read this. So I think we can round out our ACOTAR chat, because we're gonna keep discussing these characters and they just keep building, because this is just base level foundation in terms of the whole series. But Sarah J Maas has said, by retelling legends or immersing ourselves in fantasy realms, we can safely explore the very real, very day-to-day darkness of our own lives. What, if any, takeaways about our world, society, life, do you think you can take away from ACOTAR in this first book?
Yeah, so when we did Down the Rabbit Hole talking about her interview on Call Her Daddy, which, by the way, that was when she announced book 6 and 7. That came out 4 months ago and it had 2.2 million views on that YouTube. So it's one of the top ranked, by far, one of the top ranked episodes.
She doesn't do interviews at all. So
Sarah SJM, no, she doesn't. No. She doesn't do interviews ever. So this was really big for her, and it in that interview, she really talks a lot about the topic you bring up here and what you ask about here, and how Tamlin, while dealing with really specific trauma himself, isn't going to have a redemption arc overall. And that's because of the abuse that he does to Feyre overall in the series. And fucking acolytes. There's the acolytes, right? There's parallels to, which we really didn't discuss, but the acolytes and the parallels to feeling requirement in any type of cultish experience, which is definitely a known thing in our society, is a real parallel to this book. And so I think she draws on this feeling of Feyre. Basically, she's naive. She feels desperate to save her own family. She doesn't feel like she really has any other way out. She's forced into this situation, and in her naivety is kind of like, well, I love him, you know? And I think there's just a very normal naivety surrounded that. I don't think that can be understated. I think it's deliberate by SJM to show the difference in her character and how she perceives love, accepts love from others, starts to accept herself. Even as she talks about herself, you know, she doesn't believe that she's ugly, but she also like doesn't believe that she's like particularly gorgeous by any means.
She's like the lesser of the three sisters
in her mind. She doesn't think she's very pretty. She doesn't know how to embrace wearing a dress. There's fear surrounding vulnerability in dressing other than pants. I mean, she's going through a lot. So I think how SJM does parallels of what Feyre goes through in this story can be very easily alongside real things that people go through in terms of feeling like there's no way out, stepping into your own courage, all those types of things, I think are really a big reason why this series is such an enormous success. If we couldn't draw on our own experiences or our own ways that we see ourselves, or this wouldn't be believable. And I don't think that we would ever, again, fairies and all that is that believable? Not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the human experience. And I think that she does a very good job at writing that well. And I missed her writing style in particular because I think she's very thorough in writing that. And she doesn't really gloss over things. You're with Feyre like every step of her journey. She wakes up, she goes to sleep. Like there's not a lot of like gaps in time.
No.
You know, you're really like working through it. The whole story is very detailed. And she's notoriously known for being extremely detailed. And I think that's why I loved Crescent City so much. A lot of people complain about how long those books are, but I also feel like the way SJM is trying, it's intentional. There's a point to the pacing. There's a point to why you need to feel drawn out in those moments. It's because those characters feel that way. And she's trying to get you to kind of empathize with them. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. What do you think?
Okay. I would echo your sentiments on basically all the themes. You know, she talks about or Feyre experiences so much in such a little time, and for being 19. Like she's 19 years old. If the person I was dating at 19, if that was my one, like, ew, I'm sorry. We all grow. Like we do. We all grow. And I think a lot
but also for some, it can happen. It's not that
absolutely. Me as someone who has been in a very controlling relationship at the age of 19. So a lot of what Feyre went through, I experienced at a very similar age as well.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I never gave you that lore. Very controlling, not physically abusive in the sense, per se, but yeah, it was very similar things happened. So I understand,
like guilt tripping, that type of stuff.
the gaslighting, the I'm just trying to do this for you, all that. So a lot of what she went through, not that I saw myself in that, but I empathize with, or I sympathize with, just because it was a similar journey. And I was reading this as I think I was 29 when I was reading this. So, it's been a decade since. So it was a lot different reading it as like an older adult than as like a teenager going through that time.
Right.
So I know a lot of people left abusive relationships because of Feyre's journey, and what we're going to see in the next book, how she really stands up to Tamlin and like takes her life, makes it her own. And when in the podcast, when SJM said that, she like was hesitant about giving Tamlin a redemption arc because of that, it makes sense. Now, do I think, because this is, Tamlin is obviously one of the most controversial characters, do I think Tamlin is evil? No. I don't think he's an evil person.
No, I don't either.
Because his actions aren't stemmed from like, they're not stemmed from like evil motives.
Malicious
his innate want. Yeah. His innate want is to protect. He just does that in such a toxic and malicious way that it stifles anyone around him. And so do I think his storyline, the way it's going, is fitting? Yes. As it continues to go, has he tried to make strides? Maybe. Will we see him go a different path? Who knows? But I don't think he's evil at all. I don't, but yeah, it doesn't excuse any of the things that he did. And I think that's really important for women to see, that you can have someone who maybe we can kind of excuse their behavior, but that doesn't make it okay. And this is someone that leaves that relationship, and that gives them the power to also leave whatever relationship that they're in as well. So I think that was, one of the most important things that she explores with this book, and then the next book as well.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think SJM in particular talks about if Tamlin were to ever have like, his love story retold, it would require significant growth on his part, and kind of a pay for his crimes type of thing, in a way that he really truly gets any type of redemption. But she wouldn't even see it as a redemption arc. No, it would really be because he can't be redeemed to Feyre. And that whole storyline isn't there. The story's not there for that. So I think that if we see Tamlin again, which we will, I think, in 6 and 7,
he's a key player.
Yeah, how he plays his role now, is going to be interesting to watch. I think SGM will be very tactical with how she writes his character, very intentional, and a lot of that has to do, to your point, of many readers either writing on Reddit, writing her wherever because she reads certain things, readers going up to her, writing her in person, saying, because of Feyre's journey, I was able to leave my abusive relationship. And she specifically says, like, I'm not going to just now make him a redeemable character, because what does that say for all the readers who have come to me saying that they felt empowered to leave the shitty situation that we're in, and now I'm just going to go and like next book he's great again. Like that's just not gonna fly. No, so I have a lot of respect for her for that. But it was, if you haven't listened to the Call Her Daddy podcast, and we're a podcast promoting another podcast, but truly, if you haven't listened to that specific interview and you're rereading this series, I really encourage you to go spend the time and listen to it, because it's not necessarily that you get a whole bunch more like Easter eggs or anything. You get some, you get some closure, but you really learn a lot more about her and her writing style. And I just really enjoyed the conversation she had, and getting to better understand her headspace when she was writing Silver Flames and just all of that. I think it's a really, really good interview to catch with her, and likely the only one we'll get before book 6 drops. So we'll see. But all right. Well, that brings us to Down the Rabbit Hole. And our bookish rant. If you've been online lately, you've been really seeing that it's been all over the news lately in the Bookstagram world and we've talked about it a little bit here in one of our other Down the Rabbit Holes. We're talking about literacy, the literacy rate of the United States in particular, and how the internet and social media and AI in particular, have largely not helped the literacy crisis.
No.
So The Atlantic a couple days ago, I know, right? We're totally shocked by this. So for your background, we're commenting on what I want your take on, especially as an English teacher, Michelle, and everything you've seen at the high school level. I'd be very curious to know what your thoughts are on this. So The Atlantic published an article, and it's called The End of Reading is Here. And it's by Rose Horowitz, and it's been making the rounds through Instagram. It was only published a few days ago. The comment says, optimists once believed that universal literacy was inevitable. Now it seems that the age of reading might be a short anomaly in human history. And it's a really interesting concept because we have such a rate of technology that's so rapidly increased in such a short span of time that there was also recently, as part of this article, one of the data points it uses is from 1984 to 2025, the percentage of 13-year-olds who had said they had rarely or never read for fun was from 8% in 1984 to 29% in 2025, which is frankly shocking. There's this comment called Post-Literate Society, where they're stating that short-form media and AI is going to be an indicator and a reason why people don't have the patience or desire to read full-length books anymore. It was saying that 54% of U.S. adults have a literacy skill below a 6th grade level in 2024. And that it's severely impacting educational stamina and information consumption. So when we think about politics and ability to influence election with a generation or society that is not able to read anything complex in nature, what do we do with that as a society? Like, what does this look like? And is it surprising to you that this is what's going on? 30% of Americans cannot draw inferences from multi-paragraph texts. What do we do with that? That's just shocking.
Yeah. Yeah. Am I surprised? No. So this is my 9th year in education as a whole. Seven of those years have been in the classroom, and then the other 2 were in other aspects in education. I'm not surprised, mainly because, besides AI, because I started teaching before AI, so I saw this before like ChatGPT became like, a easily accessible tool and that sort of thing. I saw this before that. One, parents aren't reading, so why would the kids read? Kids see parents do what the parents do. If parents are on their phone, kids are gonna be on their phone. Like that it starts at home. Honestly, there's way too much. Yeah. A lot of parents depend way too much on the school system to do things that they should be doing. Like teaching them how to read, teaching them how to do a lot of stuff. And I'm at the high school level. Or I've been at the high school level, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So all grade levels. And a lot of it also has to do with standardized testing. Standardized testing has been the greatest downfall of the Florida education system and probably all across America. The reason why it was built, actually, so my other degree is in educational leadership. I have a master's in educational leadership. So a lot of that, we looked at data across globally and to like evaluate how the school system functions in Florida. And the reason why standardized testing basically exists is because the US constantly fails compared to other first world countries in terms of their literacy. So we create these standards now to like guide teachers. And in theory, standards, yes, there should be standards in terms of teaching. But when we're teaching to a test, which is really basically the emphasis that happens. I've taught in multiple districts, so I feel like I can safely say that this is happening across the state. If I've, in multiple districts are doing it across in the state, when there is such a heavy emphasis on testing, and it's not just state testing that happens 3 times a year. There's county testing that also happens 3 times a year. And there's all these different types of like evaluations that go on. So when students are being taught to take a test, because the teachers are being pressured to teach them how to take a test, they're not actually learning skills. I remember when I've taught gen ed to college level classes. So again, broad spectrum. In gen ed class, general education classes. So these are like the standard basic English classes. You don't teach a whole text. That's not in the curriculum that districts give you to teach.
Like the whole book?
No.
Okay.
Shakespeare has been the only one, or like there's been like one play. Maybe The Crucible is usually the junior level text, or 11th grade level text. So that's one that I always made students go through. And when I was teaching the higher level students, we read multiple books a year, but I was pulling teeth because why are you making us do this? We've never had to do this before. And in my head, I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean you've never had to read before?
Read a book in school. Like what?
Yeah. So, but the test only has excerpts. So students rarely get a whole story because the test doesn't give them a whole story to analyze. Here's this paragraph on Act 2, Scene 1 of Hamlet. What is the theme? It's like, what do you mean? Like, that's a paragraph. Like, the theme isn't developed in a paragraph. You have to read the entire text to see what the overarching theme is.
Correct.
So it doesn't surprise me that students' ability to read or adults' ability to read in longevity is like greatly impacted because that's not something that's taught anymore because of standardized testing. Now,
do you think it's compounded by instant gratification of like?
Oh, for sure. Social media. Yeah. Being in the classroom as both like an administrative perspective and like a teacher perspective, teachers are constantly battling TikTok.
You're competing.
You're competing with TikTok and Instagram, and you're competing with all these things. And why is the student going to want to like read Beowulf when they can watch a bunch of reels? Yeah.
Or ask AI to summarize it, right?
Exactly. So it's AI has damaged reading and writing because why would they do it if it can have someone to help? And the ability to critical think and really work past an issue has been lost because they can easily get an answer. And
I would say like it's now considered anxiety inducing to have this stress, quote unquote, of like,
do you know how many
critical
students
thinking and problem solving has now become
awful.
Stressful.
Well, yeah, and testing is stressful. And it's because we have students testing both of our kids are like preschool age. They start testing at 4 years old, all the way to 12th grade. It's awful. Like kids are being tested so much, so they have so much anxiety. There's no reason why a large majority of high schoolers that are really high performing high schoolers in the classroom cannot successfully perform on a basic multiple choice exam besides anxiety. And testing is just awful. It's the reason why teachers aren't, and I'm not saying all teachers, because a lot of teachers, I've worked with a lot of teachers who are really intentional of like, we're going to read a book a month, you're going to have to do a report, blah, blah, blah. So they're really trying to curb that. A lot of teachers are. But what is required and what the districts push onto teachers is you need to teach exactly what we give to you. And the teachers who don't do that, who are making choices what's best for the student, if they don't have an administration that backs them up, then their job's at risk. That's really what it's about. Which a lot of people don't understand that. Like, they blame teachers for not doing things. It's like, well, if they stray too far from the curriculum, which technically they're not supposed to do because, you know, it's not in your contract.
Standard. Everybody.
Yeah.
Even though every student doesn't learn a standard way, which is a whole other topic the other day.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this quote? So from that same article, it says in 2024 in a national test, just 35% of high school seniors were proficient at skills such as analyzing complex fictional themes, evaluating the effectiveness of an author's argument. About the same number scored below basic, quote unquote, was the rating, meaning that they may struggle to draw conclusions from concepts explicitly included in a text or to use context clues to determine the meaning of an unknown word.
Yes, that last part. They don't, and I'm saying they, because obviously there are students who do excel and, you know, they have high literacy, but as a general for like the standard population, not like the college level students who are taking AP, Cambridge or IB classes, like those students are kind of an outlier in this conversation because they are successfully working at a college level at like 15 to 17 years old. But the standard student, if they do not understand the word, they do not try to find its meaning, they glaze over it. And because they are taught to do that. Well, if you don't understand that word, move on to the next word. Because I've had to talk with reading coaches about like they don't know what to do. It's like, okay, well, try to find another sentence that you understand and get an answer from that. It's like, that's not how reading works. You need to use the words around it to figure it out. What that word means.
But like, well, let's take that in the context of fantasy, right? The world is being built.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't understand like one of the sentences, the paragraph should help you understand the world a lot better for you to infer what that sentence is that maybe a word you don't know is in there.
Right.
Or the dialogue within the paragraph.
You have a phone. Look up what the fucking word means. Like, obviously, like you have all the tools there, but you're not going to look up the word. And there have been reels like about how readers get frustrated because they don't understand what's going on in a text, so they get mad at the author. Like, why aren't you reading so I can understand? It's like, why aren't you getting better? Why should the world cater to you? And they think this because the school system has done that. If I don't understand something, someone is going to help me. But here, when you get into the adult world, no one's going to help you. You have to help yourself. The world isn't going to just cater to you. You need to be able to use the tools that you have to do like research, to like look up what the fucking word means. And obviously in romantasy, some of these words are made up, but you can kind of understand like, okay, this is what the city is called. Is it a made up word? Absolutely. But do I know kind of where it is based on the map and the description that's given? Sure. So, it's just really frustrating. And I think we're seeing what a lot of educators have been saying is going to happen. For like decades since computers have been brought into the classroom. People have been saying,
they got rid of
this
writing.
Is going to be awful.
I mean, you got rid of physical writing, which is disastrous. I mean, there are several countries now that are removing that. There are several places now, first world, that are getting rid of computers in the classroom. They're getting rid of phones. They're getting rid of everything. And they're
in
literally
Florida,
going
they're
back
reinstating
to
creating. Right. Well, in Florida, they're reinstating teaching cursive.
Because it's been such a disaster.
As a school. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I always made my students handwrite notes because that's how your brain works. Your brain, there's literal connections in your brain that if you're reading and writing, something, it sticks in your brain better than typing it out because it's the way your hand is working.
Memorization, yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
So I made my students handwrite every single essay, and they hated me for it. Hated. It's like, nope. Nope. You're going to take notes. You're going to take those fucking Cornell notes like I did when I was in high school. And you're going to thank me for it later.
Yeah. No, so on that note, listen to this. This is the last segment I'll read you from this piece, and we'll wrap down the rabbit hole. But this part really of the article itself and just on the literacy crisis as a whole, this particular part floored me. So Harvard, renowned Ivy League university, one of the best in our country. This paragraph section is about this, and so I think you're gonna be interested to hear this, and I would love your thoughts and feelings. Reading has come to seem extraneous even to some of the best educated members of society. Margaret Rennicks, Harvard's assistant director for humanities and social sciences support, told me she'd spoken with a student who was struggling to read a book written in, quote, Old English. The culprit was Anthony Burgess's 1962 novel, A Clockwork Orange. The student used ChatGPT to translate the book into easier language. Not long ago, a Harvard sociology professor, troubled by course evaluations in which students said they resented the amount of dense reading they were assigned, asked Rennicks to speak to his class in defense of reading. She had to explain to students that America's most elite university, taking a course in a discipline rooted in written observation, argumentation, and analysis, that excerpts and summaries cannot capture the depth and sophistication of a complex primary text. Rennicks told me that some students now view reading as an unnecessarily burdensome way of acquiring knowledge. Quote, by asking them to read, end quote, she said, quote, professors are arbitrarily withholding information from students by forcing them to get through this more difficult medium, end quote.
Just laugh. First off, Old English, having taught Shakespeare.
Clockwork Orange is not Old English.
No.
A Clockwork Orange was written in the 60s.
Yeah, I know. I know.
It's not even classic literature. Okay, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I clearly have feelings about this.
The only text that I've ever taught that was actually originally written in Old English is Beowulf. That was written in Old English. Everyone's like, Shakespeare's Old English. No, Shakespeare's actually the cursor of modern English. We use a lot of the words that he created. Yes, did he con some stories? Absolutely. It's called source transformation. Look it up. And the fact that, like, I'm just thinking back on my college journey, which I don't feel like was too long ago. Like, I graduated college in, 9 years ago. For my bachelor's degree. And I didn't go to Harvard, and I was reading for, a literacy class, 5 novels a semester. And I had to write papers on these 5 novels. And I never once thought, wow, this is a burdensome ask. Why? How dare the professor? How dare she make
Harvard students are taking books and putting them in ChatGPT to translate them into easier language to digest. Harvard students, like, the way my mind when I read this article was just like disturbed. I was disturbed. I am disturbed.
Yeah. And having talked to, like, because a lot of my master's degree professors, they taught undergrads simultaneously as well. They're like, AI is awful. Like, it's so bad.
Yeah.
So many kids just don't know how to, like, write, because in high school, they're only taught to write a 5-paragraph essay. Why would they write a 5-page essay that goes into in-depth analysis when they were just reading? Like, the skip and the jump to the requirements is absolutely insane. Like, high school standards are so low.
Well, and a lot of these kids, now it's been several years since this, but the kids that went through COVID and came out the other side, we are really seeing the math and literacy impact of that too. Because all these kids were in school during COVID too. It's like, what is going on? And the laxness during that time.
Because you had to, for legal reasons, you had to pass kids who weren't working. You had to do all these things because you didn't know what was happening. So the counties, like, all said, pass the kids.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out later. They'll figure it out later.
But these were critical years because every year of your education is critical. Every single year of the years you're in school from 5 to 18 are critical years for different reasons. And if you're missing high school, middle school years in terms of literacy that are being glazed over, and your work from home and Googling and whatever, and turning in the same, regurgitated crap.
Well, and also,
how are you going to be learning?
Right.
It's a tough time we're in.
To get into college now, so they have SAT, right? They removed the writing section of the SAT where you had to like pull out a random novel out of your ass and write an essay. Like that's not a thing anymore. They removed that. That's completely optional.
They did.
And yeah, you just need the reading and the math part. So just multiple choice.
There's no essay portion anymore.
And a lot of universities don't require an essay. Some do.
Like an entrance essay?
Yeah, some do.
You don't have to write an essay to get into the school anymore?
Some don't. Some do. And you can work on that essay for like months, right? You can have several people review it and all that stuff. And a lot don't require the teacher recommendation anymore. They don't require any recommendation. So the requirements to get into college, I feel like has died down as well. So have had to work with students a lot with their college entrance and all that. So we'll see how this impacts the workforce in 5 years.
I'm telling you. I think we're already seeing signs of that, honestly.
Right. And
there are memes now where there's somebody
AI,
who is it? It's Corporate Natalie. She has she put a phone strapped to her head that has a video, like a game that's being played, like a TikTok on her head. And she has a squeaky ball in her hand. And she's like, okay, welcome to the company. This is up. You're looking over here. Squeak, 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 squeak. And like brings it back over because they literally can't focus. It's like a running joke about the generation as a whole. It's disturbing.
And it's not their fault. They're a product of the adult that
pointing blame
in the system.
Right. No, I'm not. You guys are now a product of the technology that's been developed and nobody reining it in and nobody having any clear understanding of the impacts of it. I'm not blaming the kids. That's not what's happening here. They're taking advantage. They're doing what we would have done or what any other generation would do. And they're taking advantage of where they see advantage and they're using their tools, which is what they've been taught to do. You can't get mad at them for that. I'm not blaming the kids. I'm blaming all of us as society needing to say, hey, we've got a real problem here. And we owe it to the generations to fix this because this is real bad.
Yeah.
I would agree with you 100%. Yep.
All right. Well, that wraps up Down the Rabbit Hole. Let's talk about mystery Q&A. These questions have not been shared with either of us prior to asking.
Yeah. So I am really into the World Cup right now, Michelle. Who's going to win the World Cup? Place your bet.
So I'm not as into the World Cup.
Okay.
You know who I've been watching? I've been watching that Holland guy. I think he's from Norway. Is he from Norway?
Oh, yeah. Norway. Yep.
Yeah. Holland.
Just
because I keep seeing like things like he's hilarious on. I keep seeing reels.
Oh, he was in Texas. Yeah. He was doing the cowboy boot thing. Yeah.
And he's a 6'4" Viking of a man. Just chasing down these people, and he's just hilarious, and he's a badass. So,
YouTube is funny.
Yeah. So that's like literally what I know about soccer. My husband will update me on what's going on. I know you were just watching a game, so I don't really have as many thoughts. Who won the game that you were just watching?
England won. So Norway just got booted out.
Okay.
Which is really sad.
I don't even know who's left.
Because they were the underdogs. Well, so I guess let me rephrase my question then. Did you ever watch a previous World Cup? Did you even know about them? Or have history of watching?
I know of the World Cup. I never really
cared for same. Soccer. I mean, frankly, I think it's changed a lot. I think because it's here in the US, we're one of the countries. It's here, Canada and Mexico. I just recently found out that 3 countries host it, and they all are close. They're bordering nations each every 4 years. Yeah. So every 4 years, it's a bordering nation. So in 4 years, it's going to be Portugal, Spain, and Morocco are going to host for next 4 years when we go. So 2030, the 2030 World Cup will be in Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. They'll be the host nation. But yeah, so you have the host nation, and then you have all the areas that they're all going to play in, and FIFA does the whole thing, and you can get tickets everywhere. And yeah, I didn't really know that much about it because I don't think soccer was as big of a U.S. sport as it is now. I think it's, from the Olympics and from other things, it's like blown up a lot more. Plus we have all of our smaller, teams now. States have their own teams. We have Orlando City Soccer, which is huge in Orlando. And I think it's just gotten so much more excitement around it. And it's multicultural and it's just where we live in particular. I can't speak to, it was interesting. We went to Pennsylvania a couple weeks ago to visit some friends and family, and nobody there was watching the World Cup.
Really?
And I was like, that's interesting. Yeah. And so I wondered too if it was like the area. So like, of course,
location.
Miami. Yeah, Miami's one of the host cities for the World Cup, and that's where the game I just watched was at. And so I wonder too, like, just are there other people in the U.S. who have like no clue that we're a World Cup host? Like, they probably are. They have no idea
probably.
that we're a World Cup host.
What
like,
is
no
that?
clue whatsoever. Yeah, literally. Like, we just have no idea. But okay, that was my question, and I kind of answered it myself already. Which was
I'm sorry.
4 years ago. Oh, you're fine. No, 4 years ago, like I had no idea about the World Cup either. I couldn't tell you where it was hosted last year. The one previous one, I've learned like a whole bunch of stuff since watching the games this time around and getting really involved in it. But it's a lot of fun, honestly, and I love the camaraderie. And it's just been a really positive like summer experience, and I really enjoyed it. There's a game that I'm going to watch actually after we're done filming. So nice. Argentina and Switzerland are playing, so like I can't wait to see what happens with that. But
all right.
But yeah. So I've been ever since the US got kicked out, I've been kind of rooting for all the underdogs in each match. But regardless, it's been fun. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about the game and just watching the fans. It's just been really like a very cool thing to see, the camaraderie of all the countries and how the sportsmanship after each game and all of that. It's been a really cool experience. So
all right.
What about you?
Awesome.
What question you got for me?
That's a good question. Okay. Random question, obviously.
Yeah.
What type of blanket do you like to use?
What do you mean?
There are different, like what type of fabric of your blanket? Like, are you a fleece girly? Do you like just cotton? Do you like the quilts? Do you like the faux fur type of blankets?
Faux fur?
Are you like a sheep person?
I think it really depends on the weather. I feel like we've talked about this before, but maybe not. I got I can't think of the name of it now, but it was viral. There was the softest comforter in the world, supposedly, was on Instagram. You know those Instagram sales?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got me. And I bought a comforter. Yeah.
Okay.
Bought a comforter.
Was it the softest comforter in the world?
It really is. It's like monstrous. I think it's called a Mellow. I think it's called the brand is called Mellow. I'm pretty sure.
Is that the big white one on your bed
now? Yeah. Yeah. And it's gigantic. It's like an oversized king, and it's cooling, but also warm and like really soft. And it's amazing. It feels like a marshmallow type situation, and it's good.
All right.
But then around my house, I have a million like faux fur throw blankets and terry blankets and all that shit. And the ones I really don't like are the ones that don't actually work. I think that's the only ones I don't like. So like the big, the oversized knitted ones that were like really popular like 3 or 4 years ago.
The ones with like holes. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't keep you warm.
Why my blanket have holes?
What does that do? Like it doesn't do it. It's like just for show.
Yeah.
Like, it just looks cool because it's like gigantic yarn or something, but it like isn't warming at all. What is this thing? So those I don't like. I have beef with those. Fair. I think it's cool that people like make them and that, you can like knit them or whatever, but it's like literally just aesthetic. There's no functionality to that. So throw it straight in the trash. Jail. Yeah. Like it doesn't do anything. No. Yeah.
That's funny.
What about
you? So for myself, I like bamboo blankets. We've done that bamboo craze.
We did.
And so me and my husband have different blankets because actually all of us have different blankets. My baby has the sleep sack. And my daughter, she likes bamboo blankets as well, but she has her like specific purple one that she likes. And then in the winter, so my dad, when he was overseas, he got us mink blankets. And are these ethical? No. Are they really, really soft and warm? Yes. So I've had this mink blanket since I was like 8, and it's still going. So that is my winter blanket, and it is so heavy. But yeah, I don't know how you acquire one. I think he went to like a market when he was in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I'm probably not gonna get one. But
no, of course, yeah, yeah. It is.
I guess
it's a family heirloom at this point in time.
There you go.
There we go. So that's my winter one. Yep. Okay. Well, before we wrap up, let's talk about what's coming up next on Book Club After Dark.
Next week, we're going to have another interview for you, and we're looking forward to another fun discussion with you. It's going to be Tara from FMC Books is joining us, and we're excited to have her on the show. I think it'll be really interesting to hear. She's from Montana. She's a small bookshop owner, but she also does bookish events. And so we had a really good conversation with her.
Oh, yeah.
So excited to have her on. And you can visit their website, fmcbooks.com. If you want to pre-order any books from them, looking to purchase any books, support and shop small at an indie bookstore, you can visit their website, and you can even pre-order ACOTAR 6 and 7, and they'll ship them to you. So one method you can do. We found out actually about pre-orders in that episode. So more to come. Hopefully that.
Yeah. And don't forget, we want to hear from you. If you have thoughts on A Court of Thorns and Roses or suggestions for future reads, drop a comment below or message us on one of our social media platforms at Book Club After Dark Pod. Show us your fan art, theories, or anything bookish you'd like to share.
Yep. You can also visit our website, bookclubafterdark.co. Stay up to date on our crazy content and check out our merch. If you're watching online right now, you can even get this sweatshirt I've got on right here. It's available on our website.
That's all for tonight. Sleep tight, night owls. Until next time, happy reading.